The rancher just wanted a place to sleep, but those women had other plans. The twin suns of Solara, 9 were sinking behind the horizon, painting the endless desert plains in gold and crimson. Jace Mallory squinted against the glare, his horse-bought Dusty tramping through the rough, cracked ground with steady, mechanical steps. For hours he had ridden under the punishing heat, scanning the barren land for any sign of shelter. His wide-brimmed hat shaded his eyes, but it couldn't shield him from the deep weariness that had settled in his bones. All Jace wanted was a place to rest, a roof over his head, and a quiet corner to sleep. That was it. No drama, no surprises, no talking robots malfunctioning under desert heat. Just a bed, maybe a meal, and a chance to let Dusty recharge before the next day's ride. As he crested a small dune, he saw it, a glimmering structure in the distance. Unlike the usual abandoned shacks or half-buried metal huts that littered Solara, 9, this homestead seemed alive. Light shimmered along its curved walls, almost like a heat mirage, but steady and welcoming. Jace narrowed his eyes. "Finally," he muttered. Dusty whinnied softly, as if agreeing. The closer they got, the stranger the place became. The building was a mix of frontier architecture and futuristic technology. Rounded metal beams twisted into archways that resembled old ranch barns, but they pulsed faintly with light. Holographic panels floated near the entrance, displaying shifting symbols that Jace couldn't understand. Yet, the welcome of the place was undeniable. As Jace dismounted, the doors slid open silently.
3 women stepped out.
Each was unlike anyone Jace had ever seen. One had hair that shimmered like spun silver, reflecting the sun's last rays. Another wore goggles that glowed faintly, though it was not dark yet. The third had a coat that seemed to ripple with a strange energy, as if the fabric itself were alive. They smiled, but it wasn't a casual smile. It was deliberate, almost knowing. "Welcome, traveler," said the silver-haired one, her voice melodic yet firm. "You must be tired. Please come in." Jace hesitated, resting a hand on Dusty's side. I just need a place to sleep," he said. "Maybe some food?" "That's all." "Sleep is only the beginning," the second woman said, her glowing goggles flickering as if scanning him. "Come, rest, and you will understand more than you think." Jace frowned. There was something about their words that didn't feel threatening, yet something in their tone hinted at purpose. He had learned on Solara 9 that strange things often came with hidden rules, but the thought of a bed, even a strange one, was too tempting. Dusty nudged him forward. With a resigned sigh, Jace followed the women inside. The interior was unlike any ranch he had ever seen. The floor was smooth, glowing faintly under his boots. The walls shifted slightly as he walked, displaying landscapes that moved and changed, like holographic windows into other worlds. And then he saw the chamber where they wanted him to sleep. It was circular. Cushions floated gently in the air, arranged in a loose spiral. No bed frames, no walls to confine him. Just light air and these floating cushions. "Sit," said the third woman, her coat rippling as she gestured toward the cushions. "It will make your rest more meaningful." Jace raised an eyebrow. "Sit? You mean sleep on those things?" "Yes," the first woman said with a smile. "They will adjust to you. You'll see. You are far from ordinary, Jace Mallory." He blinked. How did she know his name? But there was no time to question it now. Exhaustion pulled at him like a tide, and before he could protest further, he lowered himself onto one of the floating cushions. At first it felt strange, like trying to rest on air. The cushion shifted, molding to his body perfectly. He leaned back, letting the softness embrace him. Dusty remained at the edge of the room, quietly humming as his mechanical circuits adjusted to the homestead's energy field. As he closed his eyes, Jace felt the room change around him. The walls shifted, showing stars, distant planets, and strange alien landscapes. Colors danced across the surfaces, bright yet soothing. The air was filled with a soft hum, like the resonance of 1,000 wind chimes. "What is this place?" he whispered, mostly to himself. "You are seeing the heart of the homestead," the silver-haired woman replied, appearing beside him. "It responds to those who enter. It tests them, teaches them, but only if they are willing to learn." Jace frowned, but he was too tired to argue. "I don't want to be tested," he admitted. "I just want to sleep." "Sleep is the first test," the second woman said, stepping closer. "Can you let go of the world outside? Can you trust that you are safe here?" He looked at them, then at the floating cushions. Despite the strangeness, he felt a pull he couldn't resist. Tentatively, he closed his eyes, letting the tension in his shoulders melt. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. Time seemed to stretch and bend inside the chamber. He dreamt of deserts that glowed under purple suns, of rivers that floated in midair, and of strange creatures that communicated without words. Yet, always, there was a sense that someone, or something, was guiding him, watching, waiting. When he woke, the room was quiet. The suns outside had set completely, and the homestead glowed softly in the dark. Dusty stood nearby, calm and still. The three women were seated at a low table, as if waiting for him to rise. "You've slept well," said the third woman, her voice like the whisper of wind over dunes. "Good. That means you are ready for the next step." Jace rubbed his eyes and sat up. "Next step? I thought sleeping was the only step." She shook her head. "Rest is never only rest. Here, everything has purpose. You have been chosen because you are capable of more than you know. But first, you must learn to trust this place, and us." He leaned back, feeling the soft vibration of the chamber beneath him. Strange as it was, a part of him felt comfortable, safe. And yet he couldn't shake the feeling that his simple journey across Solara, 9 had just changed forever. The silver-haired woman stood, gliding across the room with the grace of someone who didn't quite belong to the ground. "Tomorrow you will understand," she said. "Tonight, just rest. But be ready, Jace Mallory. This homestead has its own plans." Jace lay back on the floating cushion, staring at the shifting ceiling above. Stars swirled and planets moved in impossible orbits. He didn't know if he would ever understand this place. But for the first time in weeks, he felt something he hadn't felt since leaving his ranch. A sense of possibility. And deep down he couldn't help but wonder, what exactly had he walked into? The hum of the chamber filled his ears, soft and soothing. His eyes closed once more, but sleep now felt different. It was not just rest. It was preparation. Somewhere in the distance, the homestead seemed to pulse with a quiet energy, as if it had acknowledged him, tested him, and decided to keep him. Jace didn't know it yet, but the journey that began with a simple desire for sleep was about to become an adventure beyond his wildest imagination. Outside Solara, 9's desert stretched endlessly under the starry sky. Inside, the homestead waited, alive and patient, for the rancher who had no idea he had just entered a world where rest was only the beginning. And the three women smiled, knowing their plans for him were just starting. Jace Mallory awoke to a soft hum that pulsed through the chamber. The floating cushions glowed faintly, arranging themselves in new patterns around him. At first, he thought he was still dreaming. The walls now displayed alien landscapes unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering crystal forests, rivers that shimmered like liquid light, and mountains that seemed to float in the sky. The three women were already awake. Nova, the silver-haired one, floated near a window, watching the shifting stars. Lyra, the woman with glowing goggles, hovered over a small console, her fingers tracing holographic symbols that appeared midair. Kira, in her rippling coat, sat cross-legged, hands resting lightly on a cushion that seemed to respond to her touch. "Good morning, Jace," Nova said, her voice calm but layered with authority. "You rested well. That is good. You are ready for the next part of your journey." "Journey?" Jace muttered, rubbing his eyes. "I just wanted a bed, that's all." Lyra smiled, the glow of her goggles reflecting in the room's shimmering lights. "Sleep is never just sleep here. It is preparation. What comes next requires focus, patience, and understanding." "Are you ready to try?" Jace hesitated. The last 24 hours had been strange enough. Floating cushions, living walls, and now preparation. But he had little choice. Either participate or stay trapped in this surreal homestead. With a reluctant nod, he followed the women. They guided him to a new chamber, one that seemed smaller than the first but just as alive. The floor was smooth and glowed faintly beneath his boots. In the center floated 3 objects, a glowing cube, a twisting spiral of light, and a small holographic map of a strange world. "These are your challenges," Kira explained. "Each one tests a different part of who you are. Courage, perception, and empathy. You must attempt all 3. Only then will you understand why you were brought here." Jace stared at the cube. It pulsed softly, like it was alive. I don't know if I can do this," he admitted. "I'm just a rancher. I ride a horse bot. I fix fences. That's it." Nova stepped closer, her eyes calm. "That is exactly why you were chosen. You may see yourself as ordinary, but ordinary can become extraordinary when tested. Trust yourself. Trust this place." Jace took a deep breath and touched the cube. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, it shifted and opened like a tiny doorway, revealing an intricate pattern of lights. Words appeared above it, written in the alien language of the homestead. But strangely, Jace could read them as if they were in his own mind. Look beyond what is seen. The answer is in the constellations. He stepped back and looked around. The room's ceiling had transformed into a night sky, stars twinkling in formations that seemed to mimic his own memories. His ranch, his family, the long trails he had ridden. Slowly, he realized that he needed to align the stars in a pattern that reflected the lessons he had learned in his life. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. Jace moved from one star to another, connecting them carefully, feeling the story of his own life forming in constellations above him. When he finished, the cube glowed brightly and dissolved into light. "Well done," Nova said. "You have completed the first challenge. You see your past clearly, and you have learned to reflect. Now comes the second challenge." Lyra gestured toward the twisting spiral of light. "This is the maze of Solara. It shifts as you move. Every step you take changes the path. Your task is simple, find the center, but it requires attention, patience, and trust in your instincts." Jace stared at the spiral. It twisted, twined, and seemed almost infinite. "I'm not sure I understand." "Start walking." As he stepped into the maze, the floor beneath him glowed with each footprint. Walls of light rose around him, changing shape every time he paused or moved too quickly. The maze seemed impossible at first, but Jace remembered the patience required to tend a ranch, the attention needed to care for Dusty and the land. Slowly he adapted. He noticed patterns in the movement of the walls, learned to anticipate changes, and moved carefully, trusting both his mind and intuition. Finally, he reached the center, a small platform where the spiral's light converged. A soft voice spoke in his mind. Patience and observation lead to clarity. "You are learning well." Exhausted but exhilarated, he returned to the chamber with the three women. They nodded, approving. "Now comes the final challenge," Nova said, her voice echoing slightly. "The world you see is not only to be navigated, but understood. You will need empathy to succeed here." They led him to the holographic map which showed an alien ecosystem, a forest with glowing plants, hovering streams, and strange creatures that moved silently among the trees. "Your task," Kira explained, "is to communicate with this world. You do not have words. You do not have force. Only your mind and your understanding of life can guide you." Jace stepped into the map. He felt himself shrink and become part of the holographic forest. Birds with translucent wings chirped without sound. Trees pulsed as if breathing. Small creatures with multiple eyes watched him curiously. He remembered the lessons from the first two challenges: observation, patience, and reflection. He started moving slowly, mimicking the gestures of the creatures, matching their patterns, and responding to their movements. A tiny four-legged creature approached him, hesitant. He extended a hand, not to grab, but to show he meant no harm.
The creature nuzzled him, then scampered to the trees.
A chorus of gentle lights followed, as if approving his understanding.
Hours passed.
The creatures guided him and he guided them, until the forest seemed at peace, balanced by his presence. When he stepped back into the chamber, he felt a new confidence rising within him. "You have done well, Jace Mallory," Nova said. "You are beginning to understand. The homestead does not merely house travelers, it awakens them. The challenges are not about winning or losing. They are about knowing yourself, your strengths, and your limits. Most travelers fail one or more challenges, but you have succeeded. That is why you were brought here." Jace sank onto one of the floating cushions, breathing heavily. I never expected any of this," he admitted. "I thought I just needed sleep. Now you must decide what you will do with what you have learned. The journey does not end here." Jace looked around the chamber at the floating lights and shifting walls, at the three women who had guided him through this strange night. For the first time he felt both small and significant at the same time. Small because the universe was immense, and significant because he had learned to move within it with understanding and care. The hum of the homestead filled the room, gentle yet powerful. It seemed to respond to him, acknowledging his success, inviting him further into its mysteries. Nova stepped close and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Tomorrow you will see that the world is much larger than this desert. And the homestead, well, it can travel to places you have never imagined." Jace's heart raced. Travel across planets? Alien landscapes? This was more than he had ever expected from a simple place to sleep, and yet a strange excitement stirred within him. The life he had known, the quiet ranch, the endless deserts, the solitude, suddenly seemed small compared to the possibilities opening before him. I guess I'll be ready, he said, almost to himself. If this homestead wants me to go further, I'll go. The three women exchanged looks, subtle smiles tugging at their lips. They had chosen him carefully. They had tested him, guided him, and now they would see if he was ready for the next stage, a stage that would take him beyond Solara, 9, and into the vastness of space itself. As the sun set completely and the stars sparkled outside, Jace lay back on the floating cushion. The chamber glowed softly around him, and for the first time since leaving his home planet, he felt a sense of calm wonder. The challenges had been strange, difficult, and confusing, but they had awakened something in him. And somewhere deep in his heart he knew that sleep tonight would not just be rest. It would be preparation for a journey unlike any he had ever imagined. Outside, Solara, 9's desert, lay silent under the twin moons. Inside, the homestead pulsed gently, alive with intention, as if waiting to see what its newest traveler would do next. And Jace Mallory, once a simple rancher, realized that the adventure he had stumbled into was only just beginning. The homestead shook gently as Jace opened his eyes. He had slept more soundly than he could remember in years. The floating cushions still hovered around him, but the chamber had changed. The walls now showed vast stretches of space, stars glowing nebulae and distant planets spinning in silent orbits. What is happening? Jace whispered. Nova, the silver-haired woman, stood beside him, her eyes shining with calm excitement. You are about to see the world differently, Jace. Not just Solara 9, but the space beyond. The homestead can travel anywhere, and now it will, Dusty whinnied, the horsebot's mechanical body vibrating slightly as if sensing the homestead's movement. The hum of the structure increased, a soft but powerful vibration that seemed to flow through every surface. Jace felt his stomach lift slightly, as if they were taking off, not just from the ground, but from reality itself. Lyra adjusted her glowing goggles. This will feel strange at first, she said. Hold on to what you know, but be ready to learn things you never imagined. Kira's rippling coat seemed to shimmer with energy. Trust the homestead. Trust yourself. And remember what you learned last night. Patience, observation, empathy. Those lessons will guide you now. Jace took a deep breath and held onto Dusty's reins. The floor beneath them seemed to melt away, replaced by a view of Solara, 9 shrinking beneath them. The desert dunes, the jagged rock formations, and even the tiniest dust storms fell away as the homestead rose higher, floating effortlessly into the thin upper atmosphere. He swallowed hard. I didn't know this was possible. Nova smiled. Few do, until they see it. The homestead accelerated smoothly, moving past the clouds and into orbit. Below, Solara. 9 looked small, almost like a marble spinning under twin suns. Above, the stars stretched infinitely, and Jace felt both tiny and odd. He had always been a rancher, accustomed to wide plains and open skies, but this was nothing like the plains of Solara. 9. The homestead moved faster, slipping past planets and moons, through asteroid fields that glowed with ice and metal. The women guided him silently, pointing out paths through the floating debris. Lyra manipulated holographic controls, creating safe routes while the homestead twisted and turned gracefully through space. This is incredible, Jace said, gripping Dusty tightly. It's like riding across the desert, only endless. Nova's voice was gentle. The stars are like deserts, Jace. Endless, beautiful, and full of challenges. You have already learned how to navigate one. The other is just bigger. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt different here. Jace watched as strange planets with glowing rings, towering crystal forests, and rivers of liquid light drifted by. He could feel the homestead respond to every movement he made, adjusting to the way he shifted his weight, anticipating his steps. Dusty adapted too, stepping lightly across the smooth floor that now seemed like a bridge through space. This is amazing, Jace said again, almost to himself. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Nothing like it exists for most, Kira said, her coat rippling as if stirred by the homestead's energy. But this place, it awakens travelers. It shows them what they can do, if they only trust themselves. As they glided past a massive, glowing nebula, Lyra pointed toward a small spinning station in the distance. That is the waypoint of Tenebris, she said. Curious travelers sometimes stop there. It will test your navigation skills and your creativity. Are you ready for that? Jace nodded, trying to steady himself. The lessons from the previous night, reflection, patience, empathy, echoed in his mind. He realized he wasn't afraid. Not entirely. Instead, a sense of excitement filled him. The journey that had begun with a simple desire for sleep had grown into something far bigger. The waypoint was nothing like the homestead. A massive ring hovered in the void, covered in panels of blinking lights and floating platforms. Strange creatures, humanoid but with translucent skin and luminous eyes, moved across its surface. Jace felt a spark of nervousness. Could he really handle this? Remember, Nova said softly, you have learned. Trust your senses. Trust what you know. And remember that empathy guides even in the darkest places. As the homestead entered the station's gravitational field, Jace marveled at the sheer scale. Platforms shifted constantly, making paths appear and disappear. Bridges of light extended across gaps only to vanish moments later. The challenge was not dangerous, but it required observation, patience, and courage, exactly what Jace had practiced the night before. He dismounted Dusty carefully, stepping onto a bridge of shimmering light. Each step made the bridge shift slightly, but he remembered how to move slowly, watching patterns, predicting movements. Dusty followed, adjusting his mechanical hooves to the same rhythm. The creatures on the station watched them curiously. Jace mimicked their gestures subtly, offering nods and pauses that showed respect. Slowly, the creatures began to respond, moving aside and guiding him through the shifting pathways. He realized that the station, like the homestead, responded to understanding and care rather than force. Hours, or perhaps moments again, passed. Bridges moved, platforms rotated, and Jace learned to anticipate the station's rhythm. Every step, every observation reinforced what he had discovered the night before. Patience and empathy could solve problems faster than strength or speed. Finally, they reached the station's center, a large circular platform that glowed with soft white light. Hovering above it was a crystal sphere, pulsing like a heartbeat. Jace extended a hand instinctively, and the sphere responded, shifting into a pattern that mirrored the constellations he had arranged in the cube the night before. Nova's voice echoed gently in the chamber. You are ready. You understand the patterns of life, the lessons of trust, observation, and empathy. That is why you were chosen. The universe is not just around you. It is within you. The desert plains of Solara. 9 felt far away, replaced by the endless cosmos and infinite possibilities. He realized he had changed. He was no longer just a rancher. He was a traveler, a learner, someone capable of navigating the impossible with care and wisdom. Lyra smiled. Most travelers panic here. They see endless space and endless challenges, and they turn back. But you see patterns. You see possibilities. That is rare. Kira stepped close. The next phase of your journey will be harder. The homestead can take you anywhere, but it cannot solve everything for you. You must act, decide, and understand. Are you ready for that, Jace?
Jace took a deep breath.
Dusty whinnied softly, and he patted his horsebot's neck. I'm ready, he said. If the homestead wants me to go further, I'll go. I want to see it all. The homestead hummed, responding to his words. Its walls glowed brighter, the floors vibrating gently. Slowly it began to rise from the station, slipping through space like a boat over a cosmic ocean. Planets, moons, and glowing nebulae whirred past as the stars stretched endlessly. As they traveled, Jace looked at the 3 women. He realized they were not merely guides. They were teachers, mentors, and companions. They had brought him this far not through force, but by helping him unlock his own potential. He thought of Solara. 9's deserts, the long rides he had taken, the quiet nights under twin suns. Those memories no longer seemed small. They were lessons that had prepared him for this adventure, for this journey beyond the stars. For the first time, Jace felt completely alive. He had entered the homestead wanting only a place to sleep. Now he was riding through the stars, learning lessons that no rancher, or even most travelers, could ever imagine. Nova looked at him and smiled. The universe is vast, Jace Mallory, and it is waiting. Remember, the homestead shows the way, but you choose the path. I will remember. And as the homestead glided silently through space, past nebulae, planets, and star systems, Jace Mallory felt a thrill unlike anything he had ever known. The journey was far from over. In fact, it was only beginning. Somewhere ahead in the vast darkness of the stars, a new world awaited him. And this time, Jace was not just a traveler. He was a pioneer of possibility, a rider of stars, and someone ready to face whatever wonders the universe had to offer. Outside, the cosmos stretched endlessly, silent and full of potential. Inside, the homestead hummed, alive with anticipation, as if it too waited to see what its newest traveler would do next. Jace took a deep breath, gripping Dusty's reins. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and for the first time in his life he felt the thrill of truly limitless adventure. Jace Mallory gripped Dusty's reins as the homestead drifted through the void. Before them lay a planet unlike any he had seen, a jewel of turquoise deserts, silver mountains, and glowing rivers that wound through valleys like liquid light. The air shimmered even from orbit, hinting at something ancient and alive below. "This is the final stop," Nova said, her silver hair reflecting the twin suns above the planet, the place where travelers discover their true purpose. "You have been chosen for this, but what you do here will define you." Jace swallowed hard. He had faced strange puzzles, shifting mazes, and cosmic pathways, but this felt different. It was bigger, quieter, and alive with expectation. He could almost feel the planet's heartbeat through the floor of the homestead. Lyra adjusted her goggles. "Everything you have learned, the patience, observation, empathy, will guide you here. But there are no instructions, only choices." Kira's coat rippled in soft waves. "Do not fear. The planet will respond to you. What you give, it will give back." The homestead descended slowly, hovering above a vast desert of sparkling turquoise sand. Dusty shifted his weight nervously, and Jace patted his mechanical horsebot's neck. "Easy, Dusty. We've got this," he murmured. When they touched down, the ground beneath them pulsed faintly, like it recognized them. A soft glow spread across the sand, revealing a pathway lined with stones that shimmered with energy. The three women gestured toward it. "Follow the path," Nova said. "It will lead you to the heart of the planet." Jace glanced at them, then at the glowing trail. His heart pounded, but a strange calm filled him. He had faced challenges before. He had solved puzzles, adapted to the impossible, and learned to trust himself. He could do this too. The pathway led them through valleys of silver mountains, over rivers of liquid light, and into forests of crystal trees that chimed softly when the wind passed through. Jace walked carefully, Dusty following, and the women moved alongside him like guides in a strange dream. "This place, it's alive," he whispered. "It feels like it's watching us." Kira nodded. "It is, and it responds to your presence. The heart of the planet will only reveal itself to those who are ready." After hours, or perhaps it was minutes, time felt fluid here. They reached a massive clearing. At the center floated a structure, half machine, half organic, glowing faintly with energy. Its surface rippled like water and hummed like the voice of the planet itself. "This is it," Lyra said. "The heart." "Touch it, Jace, it will ask of you." "It will test what you have learned." Jace stepped forward cautiously. Dusty stayed close. The heart pulsed, responding to their approach. A gentle voice filled his mind. Not words, but feelings, images, and memories. "Who are you? What do you bring to this world? Will you nurture it or ignore it?" He had always been a rancher, accustomed to tending land and animals. He had cared for Dusty, for his ranch, for the plains of Solara. 9. But this was different. The planet seemed to demand something bigger. He closed his eyes, letting memories of his life wash over him. The endless desert plains, the storms he had survived, the nights spent under twin suns, the quiet moments of reflection, and the joy of seeing life grow under his care. Slowly he realized that all of those lessons, patience, observation, empathy, were not just for survival, they were for creation. Jace reached out and touched the heart. Light flowed into his hands and up his arms, filling him with warmth. The vision became clear. This planet could be transformed, nurtured, and made alive. Rivers could be guided, plants could flourish, and creatures could thrive. And he could be the one to help it grow. The heart pulsed faster. Another question filled his mind. Will you accept this responsibility, or will you leave, returning to what you know? They were smiling, calm, waiting. They had led him here, but they were not controlling him. The choice was his. He thought of his old life, the ranch, the quiet deserts, the solitude. It had been simple and safe, but it had also been limited. Here, in front of him, was the chance to be part of something extraordinary, something that would last far longer than any single human life. I'll do it, he whispered. I help this world grow. I'll take care of it. The heart pulsed brightly, sending waves of light across the land. Rivers glowed, plants shimmered, and creatures emerged, curious and thriving. Jace felt energy flowing into him, not just physically, but his understanding and knowledge. The planet was alive, and he was now connected to it. Nova stepped closer. "You have chosen wisely, Jace Mallory. The planet will respond to your care, and it will teach you as well. You are no longer just a traveler."
You are a steward of life.
Lyra nodded. "The journey that began with a simple desire for sleep has led you here. You have grown, adapted, and learned. This is your purpose." Kira added softly. "Remember what brought you here. Patience, empathy, observation. Use them always, and the planet will thrive under your care." Jace felt a new sense of confidence. The deserts of Solara. 9 seemed distant, almost small in comparison, but he did not feel fear. He felt excitement, curiosity, and a profound connection to this living world. Dusty whinnied softly, stepping closer to the heart. Jace patted him. Together they began to explore the planet more fully. Using the lessons he had learned, Jace guided rivers to fertile lands, encouraged the growth of forests, and helped creatures find safe habitats. Every action he took was met with response from the heart. It was like working alongside a partner who understood and supported him. As the twin moons of the planet rose, casting soft light across the turquoise sands, Jace realized something important. Adventure was not only about challenges or discoveries, it was about purpose. It was about making a difference and seeing the results of one's care and effort. The 3 women watched him quietly, satisfied. They had chosen him for this journey because he had shown the qualities needed to succeed, not just strength, but thoughtfulness, patience, and empathy. And now he had proven that he could rise to the occasion. Jace paused, looking at the glowing landscape around him. The rivers, forests, and creatures were thriving. The heart pulsed gently in response to his presence, steady and calm. For the first time in his life he felt fully at home, not in a bed, or a desert, or a ranch, but in the universe itself. Nova stepped close and placed a hand on his shoulder. "The journey is far from over," she said. "The universe has many worlds, and each one needs care. But this planet, this is where your new life begins." Lyra smiled. "Remember what you have learned. Trust yourself. You are ready for anything." Kira added, "And know this, sometimes the smallest steps, like wanting a place to sleep, can lead to the greatest adventures." Jace laughed softly, a mix of relief and joy. He had entered the homestead expecting only rest. Instead, he had found purpose, adventure, and a connection to something greater than himself. The planet thrummed gently beneath his feet. He could feel life growing, spreading, and responding to his care. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of stewardship. He was no longer just a rancher. He was a traveler, a teacher, a guardian, and a pioneer. As he looked at the horizon, where glowing rivers met silver mountains, he knew that every lesson, every challenge, every puzzle had prepared him for this moment. And he was ready. The homestead hummed softly behind him, hovering silently, watching, waiting, as it always did. But Jace no longer needed guidance. He was part of something far larger now, connected to life itself. And for the first time, Jace Mallory closed his eyes. Not in exhaustion, but in peace. Sleep came easily now, comforting and gentle. Outside, the twin moons shone over the new frontier he had been chosen to nurture. Inside, the universe whispered promises of endless possibility. Jace had wanted only a place to sleep. He had found a universe to care for, a planet to nurture, and a life full of purpose. And he knew, without any doubt, that this was only the beginning.